Xenoblade Chronicles 1 gets better the more and more I play and think about it. I have recently beaten my Stream New Game Plus playthrough, and a number of aspects about the game truly stood out to me that I just kind of missed the first go-around. And it's made me appreciate the game even more, or things that I noticed to begin with were even more layered and deep than I imagined. Xenoblade 1 is a revenge story that is the central pillar behind the entire main story. One in which Shulk and Egil are foils, where Shulk wants to strike down the Mechons for killing his friends and family, and especially for Fiora's apparent death at the beginning with Colony 9, and Egil wants to kill Zanza for killing his family and friends and people all those years ago, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that goal. And I talked about this on stream, but a far, far, far weaker story would have gone a completely different direction than Xenoblade 1. It would have ended with Shulk and Egil killing each other, or losing everything and everyone around them. The game would say, vengeance is bad, K done. Or Shulk would have realized vengeance is bad, and we need to live together in peace. Egil wouldn't have, and he would die with a vengeful heart, the end. And it would have been generic, it would have been derivative, and would have been lacking in heart and originality. Instead, Xenoblade 1, because it's such a well-told, thought-out, and emotionally provocative narrative, decides to say, screw all that noise, we have a story that we want to tell, that has nuance, that isn't generic, and we are going to take that revenge story archetype so many other stories attempt to replicate, and we are going to take it in an interesting way, because we have something we want to tell you, the player. Egil is an interesting character, because for most of his time on screen and in the story, he is handled in a way that portrays him as just Shulk, if he truly gave in to revenge. But his ending is so expertly written that it fits perfectly into what Xenoblade was going for. Shulk actually manages to get through to him, and only Shulk would be able to do this because Egil knows that Shulk has been through the same pain that Egil had, because Egil put him through that pain, with the attack on Colony 9 at the beginning of the game, and also because Shulk has the Monado, but we'll get to that. He sees Shulk's resolve, and yeah, it's a little bit protagonist talking power, but the reason it works and the reason it lands is because it makes use of all the development and progression Shulk had been throughout the entire game up to this point and brings it all to a point here. The difference that separates this conclusion from a lesser scene or a lesser story is that it feels earned. That we and Shulk had been through enough to arrive at this point in the story, and that no matter how bleak it got at points, or hopeless, Shulk and crew persevered. Egil recognizes this and understands this, and the old Egil that used to be there somewhere deep down before he was buried under an avalanche of despair and hatred started to break through to the surface again. Egil still hated Zanza, and this is one of the other main points that makes this scene work. His hatred doesn't go away, it's redirected. It's channeled in a different way. Egil's hatred for Zanza never faltered, it never wavered. But his methodology and his way of thinking changed. Before, he was willing to starve Zanza by limiting the life on Bionis, but because of Shulk, he wished for the vision of Shulk's to come true, that both worlds could live in harmony. He saw Augus's old self come through with Shulk, but he still had the Monado, but he didn't give in to it. He wanted Shulk's vision to come true. He wanted that world that could live in harmony. Egil and Shulk learned that the other wasn't the true enemy. The true source of all their pain and suffering was Zanza. Funnily enough, they both wished for a world without gods, but the nuance comes into play with how they want to achieve that. Shulk just ended up convincing Egil that Shulk's method of eliminating the cycle of suffering was the better path. He doesn't kill Egil because he would just end up perpetuating that same cycle. He wouldn't break it, he would live it again. Xenoblade 1 at nearly every point is able to subvert your expectations, but not just in a way to surprise you or to keep you on your toes, just for the sake of being a story that is hard to predict. It does so in service of the story, and it does so to tell a better, more compelling narrative. Take what happens with Shulk's apparent death. He had just made Egil reminisce about August, and how he used to feel, wanting to live in a world of peace and cooperation between the Bionis and the Mechonis and the peoples who live there. Egil refused before because he believed that the Bionis would at some point always take control, that Zanza was always just there, beneath the surface, waiting to spring loose. He was right, but Shulk never changed his position. That was the big hurdle to overcome for Egil. And once Shulk convinced Egil that he was not going to walk down that same path, and that he was in control, Egil was able to believe Shulk. But then, right where Lester's story would end, with the good guy convincing the bad guy he was the bad guy all along, Xenoblade 1 has Dixon shoot Shulk and Zanza reawaken and claim the Monado. Funnily enough, Egil was right. Zanza was always just there, lurking, waiting for his opportunity to strike, like a viper in the grass. But at this point, Shulk had managed to convince Egil of something paramount, something different, something important. The peoples of the Bionis and Shulk were not the enemy. It was just Zanza. And that if they truly wanted that world that they both wanted, of cooperation and peace, Zanza had to be removed from the picture. Why does this work? Because it explores the theme of Xenoblade 1 even deeper. The whole game up to this point was the cycle of suffering and vengeance. Shulk and Egil managed at the end to willingly get off that wheel, but the wheel was still there. The guy who made the wheel was also still there, Zanza, and he would just fashion a new one time and time again. Just because Egil and Shulk agreed that a better world could be created, it was just like Zanza said it was. Meaningless sentiment. Because the root cause of the issue, the way the world worked, was still there. That was the issue. That was the thing that needed to be excised from the world in order for a better world to be created. A world without gods. Zanza is the cycle of hatred and death and vengeance incarnate. And he is the true villain of this entire game. He is that cycle of control looming over everybody, made manifest. And Egil sacrifices himself to aid our party in finding a way to stop Zanza. So both worlds of the Bionis and Mercatus manage to rally together and fight together to rid the world of this horrid cycle. So long as the method of control existed, so long as the world was ruled over by gods or fate, then the root cause of all that pain and suffering these characters had been through would still be there, just to affect others. To create that better world that Shulk and Egil wanted, Zanza had to go and a new world had to be created. Xenoblade 1 is filled to the brim with moments like this, where it goes beyond what you expected to, and takes that extra step, and each time it does that, it makes the world and message richer, larger, and more compelling, makes its characters more complex and multidimensional. All the while keeping you on your toes as the player, not being able to expect every twist and turn that happens in the narrative, creating something truly edge-of-your-seat worthy. Take the very beginning of the game, with the death of Fiora. Personally, I expected the main party of the game to be Shulk, Fiora, and Rein. I expected those three to be the characters. I'm like, oh, you have the protagonist, you have their childhood friend who's totally not their love interest, and you have the best friend archetype. Okay, yeah, that forms an RPG party for you. And that's the direction they make you think, because they even let you play as Fiora for a little bit at the beginning. Remember that? They lead you on with that false sense of security with those tropes. And then the attack on Colony 9 happens. Fiora dies, apparently. Shulk, who you think, even fools Rein, by the way, with this, who you think would be, we have to listen to Dunban, we can't give in to vengeance, we have to do what is right here. He says, nah, screw all of that noise. I want vengeance. I want to make them pay for what they did to us. And that works because it is the narrative that is going on here. It is the story that is being told. And I've only literally started Attack on Titan 2, like, last night, and watched the first 2 episodes, but Eren is reminding me, at least his origins in the first 2 episodes, is reminding me a lot about Shulk. They both suffered a trauma. They both swore revenge and to eliminate the them. Shulk just manages to eventually identify his true enemy and to forsake the path of vengeance, to break that cycle, to get himself out of the cycle, look back at it, and then strike it down with a Monado Buster, to create a truly better world. It does not just take two people agreeing with each other or being able to convince one another. It takes restructuring the world itself. And that was the key point here with Xenoblade 1. And for every twist and turn that it invokes, that it utilizes, it lends itself and bends the direction of the story closer to that goal, closer to that message. And it's more emotionally resonant because of that, in my opinion. So I'm going to call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, your opinions on Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Who is your favorite character? I'd love to know. Let me know. Was it Shulk? Is it Rein time for you? Are you a Melia fan? You a Fiora fan? You a Dunban fan? You a Riki Heropon fan? Let me know. Maybe you're a true Chad and you're a Mikkel fan. Let me know. And hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload in the future. Stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great day. Hope to see you all again next time. Go play some video games if you can. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.